Oh my god. Hey, how is it going? We were thrown into this by Tetra. How you doing? But this is the Due Process League podcast. We're here with two very lovely people who have been in this community for a bit while now, so to say. We have Ekazo. How you doing? You back?
I'm good.
Akazo's here. And we have Roach. I think this is the first time on, right?
Yeah. Other than
Nice.
prodding it.
Other than prodding
I
it,
think I
but
did that twice.
yeah, you did we made you do the Axum cast like 2 a.m. your time. Ugh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And some
I
other
remember
one.
that was fun, actually. I enjoyed
Yeah.
that cast, especially the
Axum
reviewing
was
maps. That was good.
Axum was great. So, but we're here with two very lovely people, and we're going to talk a bit about Due Process League, Due Process itself, and kind of more just in a Q&A type style. There's a lot of questions swirling around. Really, what the idea of Due Process League, how it's set up in the terms of what's going on behind the scenes. What do you guys talk about? Do you have any ideas for next season? Is there a next season? A lot of stuff like that, but we will get into that later. And so first, I really kind of want to just ask the question: how do you guys get involved with this community, so to say, in Due Process?
Do you want to go first, Ekazo?
Sure. Started playing the game like end of December, sort of around this time actually.
Oh god,
Actually,
it's your birthday.
In 2 days, actually. I think that was the first day or the
Yeah.
anniversary of the first day I started playing Due Process.
Yo, you got Due Process for Christmas?
I don't remember. But yeah, I do remember it's the 25th I started playing. So started playing the game and got into DPL pretty early, and now I'm still here.
Yeah, because you tried it for a team at like 40 games,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And so that's you getting into the game, but recently you kind of got involved into the Due Process League as kind of one of the managers, people who run it. And so I kind of wanted to ask you that. How did you get involved there? Because you were a longtime player, participant, but now you help manage it.
Oh, I put out a league suggestion, and then I want to say a couple of days later, Index sent me a DM. Is like, "Do you want to be a staff member?" I was like, "Okay."
Because this is
That was
when
tough.
after
That was pretty much
me
it,
and
yeah.
Zombie left. Yeah. Because I know Roach came on a bit earlier because we asked him, "Hey, you want to help with the rules?" And then you were like, "Oh, I still want to play," and so you're like, team wins it is. And that's what we both are. But I remember Ekazo, Chi, and I think someone else came on after me and
Doodler.
Zombo left.
Yeah, Doodler.
Yeah, Doodler. After me, Zombie, and Rezi left. But that is another story that maybe we can get into. And so, what about you, Roach? You were like a long-time player. You've played on Rats since what, season 2?
No, it
No,
would have been the
because
start of season 3.
Started season 3, and you won
Yeah,
Havoc.
Havoc was season 2. Yeah, well, I mean, I've been playing fucking FPS games. I mean, I played Call of Duty back on the PlayStation 3 in like, 2008, 2009, something like that. So that's kind of when I started with multiplayer first-person shooters. But, I mean, I played Counter-Strike for like 3 years from 2014 to 2017. But yeah, I mean, I found Due Process through the Node videos when it was the Block dudes, like way back then, because I used to watch like their like Trouble in Terrorist Town, like Airsoft videos and shit like that. That was good crack. So yeah, I remember seeing it there. I signed up for the alpha probably like 3 times or something over like a few years. Never got an email. I assume because I'm like European or something. I don't know. So I remember Node made a video again in like August or something like that of last year, and that's when I signed up again for the kind of, it was kind of the closed beta or something. I managed to get a key. I played a bit, or it was like the closed alpha, I think. And yeah, I think around the like kind of midway through October, I had 100 games at that point. I put up a free agents post because I saw a recruiting post from Flogels, and at the time I mistook them for Fluff, and so I was like, "Holy shit, dude! now's my chance to get on the best team in the game. They just won the previous like season or whatever. So I was like, fuck yeah. 5 minutes later, I get a message from Flogel going, yo, do you want to try out? I'm like, holy shit, I've hit the jackpot. I just got on the best team in the game, pretty much. But no, it was Flogel's. I mean, it was the best team in EU, pretty much, but still. At that time, I think EU was pretty far behind. Still kind of is, but. And yeah, then played on Flogel's for like a month and a half. I formed Havoc because I was pretty much Flogel's like sub, and I was like, let's go fucking create a team. I think I created with like Feed, and then we tried out a few other players. It went pretty well, but we didn't survive the season 2 off season. That was rough. It was just kind of a few months of like scrimming the same exact teams over and over again, and yeah, everybody just got bored. And then I tried trying out for a few EU teams, thinking that I'd have a pretty decent chance of getting on an EU team. And all of them were like, no, you're shit. And so I was like, well, fuck, I guess I'll look towards NA. And Rats were like super desperate for a player because they had the fucking season was like in a few days. Like the first match of the season was in a few days. And so I was like, well, you know what, fuck it. If I want to get on a team, I'll just take this opportunity. We did pretty well throughout season 3, considering we had kind of made the team like a few days before the season started. I think we did pretty well. But in terms of getting on staff, I started just helping out with production. I think like over the course of like 2 months, I sent a few messages and got ghosted a few times. And then eventually Simber was like, oh shit, yeah, I was supposed to train you. Friday? And then I got trained on Friday. I think that was around the Lawless Cup. I think Lawless Cup might have been the first thing I did. I can't remember. Maybe it was a bit before that. But yeah, then after a bit, I think one day after a meeting, Jet messaged me going, or was it Jet? No, it was Simber. Simber messaged me going, hey, do you want to help out with the rulebook? And I was like, sure. And I was staff. It's kind of how staff goes usually. They have a huge discussion over who they think fits the role, and then they send one message to the person. It's like from the person's perspective, it's like a really short decision, but on like the staff side, it's like they've been talking about it for like a week.
When we were talking about you, it took 2 meetings.
Yeah, really?
We had to go through so many different people. Because I remember it was like, oh, okay, Byako left. Makes sense. You know, we have to have someone to do the rule book. Someone to like help write rules. And I was like, I'll help ref them, but we need to find someone to actually write the damn thing. And so I think it's Pion who came up with the thing like, we should do Roach. He's he has a good like swivel on his head. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea, But like, who else? Marbles. I think we'd said she, for a bit we were asking. I think we asked some other Mr. Revenant, and he was like, no, thank you. And we're like, yeah, okay. So we got to you, and you were a great fit. So thank God. But so that's how you kind of got into it, and now we can kind of get into more the Q&A type deal with this. And the first thing you really want to ask is, so there's been a lot of there's been a lot of talk about seasons were better, season 1, season 2, season 3. The tournament structure is more flexible, and so I kind of want to ask you multiple parts in this topic, but let's start out with, what do you guys prefer, seasons or tournaments?
Neither.
Straight up.
It's like the lesser of two evils. Okay, tournaments are better in my opinion, just because I mean, as a player in season 2, oh my god, that was hell. Just the off season took forever, and like I mean, my team literally disbanded from just like burnt out off scrimming all the time rather than playing. And then I mean, season 3, like I was in the upper league, so it was pretty decent. But then again, once those 7 weeks were over and we didn't make it to playoffs. Oh no, we had the relegation tournament, although I don't think we took that too seriously. After that, it was kind of just scrimming for ages and doing nothing. So I think people really like the seasons because like during those weeks that the seasons would sorry, Flogel messaged me because I said I thought I would join the best team in the league, but it was only Flogels. Yeah, that sounded way more toxic than I had meant for it. Flogels were a really good team. I was really happy on that team.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah, that sounded way more toxic than I thought it would. Than I thought it would come out. My bad. But going back to the seasons thing, yeah, during the time that like you would have weekly matches, it was great because like even if a team couldn't scrim during the week, they still wouldn't really get rusty because they'd have a match every week, you know. So like during that time, it was really good, but then the off season was like so painful. So the idea of the tournaments was not only because I think staff had a lot of issues during seasons where it was just really stressful because it was just a huge workload to just get everything to work.
Yeah, and I can get more into that, when we get to it.
Yeah. So the tournaments are a lot easier because they're just kind of more spread out. And there's like nowhere near the level of workload with tournaments. And as well, even though when the tournament happens, some teams will go out in the Swiss stage and they'll have played for like 1 day per month, pretty much, which sucks. Which is why we're gonna try and figure out something different in future. But at least it happens kind of on a more regular basis rather than okay, here's like this month or two that we play, and then you're just like you're gone for like 3 or 4 months. That was kind of the main idea of these tournaments, was to avoid that huge downtime as well as reduce the workload and kind of spread out the workload over a more, I guess, regular basis. I don't know.
Ekazo?
Well, obviously, not obviously the previous season format that was used in season 2, I want to say.
Season
Uh,
2, season 3, Rivals thing.
yeah, like that was okay. That I mean, obviously there was things people didn't like and such as that, but I think DPO took a huge step back when we went towards the tournament system.
Mm.
Um, I think when we're trying to make decisions about DPO, I think they should follow a certain goal. And with the tournament, I feel like the decision made to go to tournaments is really just backed by we want to stream more. We want to make sure we're streaming every game. When in reality, I feel like DPL is more about just having a competitive community. And I am a huge advocate for seasons. I think they're more fun. People get to play more. And not only that, I'm a huge fan of just competition. And with the current system, I feel like we're not really heading towards the perfect competition. And people aren't scrimming as much. People aren't really making new strats. I feel like we're super far behind in how high we can go with this game, what strategies are the best and stuff like that, because there's just not enough games being played, and there's no motivation to do so. But yeah, I think season is just way better.
Mhm. Do you
Um,
do you believe that uh tournaments are better for like new teams, new players because or is it because there was a lot of things like, oh, I want to play in DPL, and have a chance at money, you know, and so that
but
was one of the
I,
thoughts around tournaments. But and so the counter to that is also like, now you have to wait a month in between, you won't have a chance in the Swiss. So what are you guys' thoughts about that?
well, at the end of the day, we are bound by what the developers do with their game, and
Hmm.
currently, if new players are trying to play competitive due process, it's very hard because they don't have the tools they need to understand basic stuff like
Yeah.
Yeah.
wall pen, stuff like that. And I would say tournaments does a less of a job of really like acclimating them to that sort of scenario because you get one chance in the tournament. And an example I like to use like Moonbow Crew, they're generally a new player team, and I don't see a fast enough growth because they're forced to, or they scrim like once a week, and then they're forced to play in this tournament where they're put against teams that are way more experienced and there's just not enough of those type of games for them that is more frequent for them to even grow a very significant amount.
Mhm.
And that's why I would say like seasons would do a better job of that, because then you're putting every week you're going against teams that are good, but at least you'll be going against them constantly, so you will start to pick up some things very fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a big issue with the tournaments is on paper, everything about them looks great, but in practice, holy shit, they just don't work. Like they really don't. Um in terms of the new player experience, I think it's pretty fucking horrible right now.
Mhm.
Not only does the game have really bad tutorialization, like I mean, if it wasn't for Revenant and his videos, nobody would fucking know how to play the game. Let's be real. Like, probably fucking most of the league started out by watching Revenant's videos and like understanding of like the basics through that. Um, and his videos didn't even really go like in depth about the like utility usage or anything like that. So as far as I know, I can't remember very well. It was a long time ago. But
Yeah.
yeah. So as a new player, it's pretty rough. And not only that, but actually getting into a team in the league is really rough because right now teams aren't shuffling. Like most teams are just staying put. Players are scared to leave teams, is what I think. At least I am. I mean, I'm definitely like, no matter like, I mean, in the past I've definitely had like downs and ups, like ups and downs where I'm like, man, this game sucks. I want to just like get a fresh start or something like that. But then I'm like, if I leave this team, there's like
Am I
there's
gonna
a
get picked
decent
up?
chance that I just won't be able to play this game again. Like
Mhm.
straight up, it's like if I don't get on like one of the fucking 2 or 3 other teams that I have a chance of getting onto, what am I going to do? Play casuals? Like there is no other way to play the game. And I think that's probably a sentiment that's held by a lot of other players as well. And I think it's a big reason to why we've seen teams that have like the exact same roster they had like 6 months ago.
Mhm.
To a certain extent.
So like
Um,
seasons are a way to continue like bring innovation, shuffling, and also just give reasons to play outside of this one tournament, that one scrim.
yeah, I think an issue with the tournaments is hmm, I'm not really sure how to put it, but uh, hmm. My brain's kind of gone blank. I think
Yeah,
it's
and so
it's more or less that fuck. I'm actually completely blanked. Holy shit.
well, what about? So we talk a lot about the issues with tournaments. Do you
Yeah.
believe that there was any issues with seasons?
Oh
In
yeah.
terms of rivals, in terms of DPL, the season of DPL in general, the length of it. If we want to kind of go into the issues with seasons, like please do, if you do believe that there is any.
Yeah, I mean, I did point out one of the issues with the long downtime between seasons.
Mhm.
There was also the issue that I mean, we saw it a lot because there was only so many teams, and the teams are matched up against each other based on their ranking in rivals specifically. I mean, in DPL it was actually fine because it's a round robin. You play a new team every week, and it was really fun actually during season 3. But in rivals, you're matched up against people with similar points, and teams were complaining that they were just getting matched up against the same 2 teams every other week, kind of thing.
Because
Because
Ekazo's
yeah,
team, they played, I think, Katura and Frisky Fraggers. It was this was swapped between those two every single week.
yeah, pretty much. Because yeah, like it's a situation where there isn't enough teams at the exact same level to where you can have like a varied matchup like that. It's more or less it kind of goes down in a list. Like you can almost rank the teams in order, and
Mhm.
so this team's going to beat that team. That team will then beat the next team, kind of thing. And so yeah, every week it was just you kind of swap the teams that you're playing. It's just like it was kind of like a partner swap, and then you swap back the next week. That was pretty rough. And then there's also the thing with promoting. Like as a new team coming into the league, um, it's pretty rough because I mean you have to play for months and months and months to even get a chance at promoting.
Mhm.
Um, and if you come into the season a little bit too late, you have to wait like 3-4 months to get your next chance at promoting. So I think that's definitely something that if we do divisions again, that we'll try and have more frequent promotions to kind of mix up the scene a bit more, and also make it seem more achievable, that like for a new team that they could actually reach the upper division or whatever it would be.
So, we talked a lot about problems and anything. Is there any solutions? Do you guys have any ideas on what would work? Is DPL, behind the scenes thinking about uh, what what changes to the current system? Because I know after this month, next month in January, is going to be the major. What's after that? If y'all know anything, or can say anything.
There isn't really anything concrete yet. Our last meeting, actually, yesterday, we probably spent like 2 hours just like brainstorming ideas. We had a bunch of really great ideas. There's nothing concrete, so there's nothing I can really say specifically. But yeah, we mainly talked about kind of the format that we want to do after the major, because I mean, we don't want to leave that until after the major, because then same thing with the seasons, there'll be a huge downtime. Like, I'm pretty sure once the major's over, we're gonna have a format prepared and try and switch to that pretty quickly,
Okay.
so that teams don't get fucking bored. But hopefully, anyways, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, there's really nothing concrete right now. And in terms of kind of making it easier for new players to get into teams, because I mean, the amount of times that I see like a new player comes to the game, they find the DPL, holy shit, and they actually found the DPL server, shit. I swear, like 1 in like 20 players will find the DPL server. Yeah, they find the DPL server, put a free agents post. I've got 40 games played. Pick me up. I'm decent, I swear. And then they just get completely ghosted and ignored because all the teams are already filled with like veteran players, and they don't want to spend the time picking up like a brand new player who will kind of drag them down. So it sucks. So we definitely have to figure out something to either encourage and like, I think one idea we had was trying to figure out a way that we can just get like a bunch of new players to play together. Because if you just get a bunch of new players to play together, some of them are gonna like enjoy playing with each other, and forming a team with multiple people rather than like 'cause forming a team on your own is a pretty daunting task. But if you have like 1 or 2 other people that are forming the team with you, is a lot less of a daunting task. So that was something we discussed yesterday, that we're gonna try and look at if we can do something to like just get some new teams in, because yeah, it's very much teams are stagnating. They don't get enough scrims. Scrims are kind of boring. Yeah, it's just the league is overall stagnating alongside the game.
Ekazo, any thoughts about that?
Well, I agree. The teams are stagnating, but I think it's mainly because of the game. If we look at the current league or tournament structure, we haven't really seen any new teams be created until like I think like actually like last 2 weeks we've gotten like 3 new players making teams.
Yeah, that's great.
Um,
To see and hear. So
yeah, but the problem is like we don't even know when those teams are going to be able to play, because now the GPL majors coming up, they're not going to be able to play then, and then we don't even know what the plan is for after that major. So it's unlikely those teams would be even retained, and that's partly our fault, and then I think that's also partly the game's fault too, because even if they do get to play, we don't know if that experience is going to be very good, because we don't know how well they've been acclimated to the game, and whether they will be understanding to how or knowing how to improve. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's how I feel about it too.
so there's a lot of talk about the new player experience, new players having issues with like learning the game, understanding really what's going on, just continuing getting in. And so I know this may be a pretty easy question to y'all, but I really wanted to ask, like, what do you mean by that? Explain really how we're seeing like this new player experience be very negative, Give me kind of scope of what's going on.
I would say, I mean, the negative experiences I think mainly come from, I guess, the lack of game intention. I guess because like you'll see players barb red doors, and then that would frustrate the old players, but the new players don't have no clue why it was wrong and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And even if you do tell them, they still won't know like other stuff. Like there's just so much mechanics to learn, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
understanding maps, like utility can be seen on the map, like flashes pop on the map, stuff like that. And I, I don't know. I genuinely don't really know like exactly what makes it bad, but I mean it's obvious what makes it bad is the misunderstandings between players. I guess that's what makes
Mhm.
it a negative experience.
Yeah, I think this because I can kind of see it from people who I play a decent amount of casual recently. It's just the fact that they're they they play the game, and they join casual, whatever, when one to few games, and they watch the Revenant videos, or they just do the tutorial, and then that's it. They don't feel the need to keep on expanding, and of course some of them get beat to high hell and they quit. But the people who even stick around to 100 to 200 to hell 6 to 1,000 games is they really have this kind of not full deeper understanding of the game, and maybe that's like a good thing, because I have a different, now exiting the DPL, I have a different view on what DPL should be. I think, in my opinion, it should be a side project to due process where, like, if people want to come in and invest and enjoy it, like, they can definitely do so, and they should be able to enjoy it. But, you know, besides that, it really should be more of it's just that a side project. Anything that will, like, it doesn't impact the game super heavily. It's kind of like Rocket League. I don't know if that's a good thing at all. That's just something I pulled out of nowhere. Uh, it's
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
true.
like, you know, well, yeah. Let's just maybe take the Rocket League example and go with it. It's kind of like Rocket League, where like 99.99% of players don't play at the highest levels, and so, like, while it's fun to watch them and all that, the game isn't super heavily managed around
Yeah,
highest
competitive.
levels.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong, and I think I am, because I've never played a game of Rocket League in my life.
Dude, I don't know anything about Rocket League, so.
So I know I have a friend who's like grand champion or something, and like, and it's super like weird. I just watch you talk about it. But enough about that. So we talked about seasons versus tournaments, um, and I before we kind of exit this topic, I wanted to talk about why, because I was around when we changed from seasons to tournaments, and the reason was because of burnout from the DPL staff, people who ran it, and just the fact that for 8 to 10 to 12 weeks, you were kind of tied. Your weekends were tied to this, you know, especially the production. I think the production had a lot of burnout. I think people, and so with your weekends being now tied to uh, managing DPL, running DPL, I think a lot of us, I could say even me included, burnt out, and got tired. And this is especially when a lot of there was some issues going on with the game community, whatever. But just having to do game, like 4 game best of threes or BO2s every single weekend for 12 weeks, while managing all this weekly, was a bit rough. So that was definitely a driving factor, was helping with burnout. You know, so.
I I think I think that's another problem of the league is like our expectations are too high. As you can see,
Mhm.
like our Twitch stream is really good, the high production quality, but is it? But it's coming to that point where like, is it worth the effort for the quality? Like, I
Mhm.
know a lot of people are saying like oh yeah, the stream is good, but now we're like focusing so much on the stream. I feel like we're degrading the league quality by doing so. People are not playing as much, and mainly because of the. I feel like it's mainly because of the league structure. Or I'm talking about only people in the DPL scene rather
Yeah.
than the general player base. But I don't know. I feel like we're going in that direction where like we have to start making decisions. Like maybe we should take a step back in terms of stream quality in favor of giving staff more time to actually manage this stuff and bring it back to a lower standard maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
I think like people know this, but they don't really. I don't think they can fully grasp it. And this is again all my sightline is that this is all volunteer work. You know, like Roach has volunteered to do production for this weekend. Simber has volunteered to do production when they could be doing anything else. This is the love of the league, the love of the game. And so, like, you mix that with the fact that the game can be in sometimes rough states. You mix the fact that the league can, like the league and community can sometimes be at odds, to put it lightly. uh, it can be a bit rough to wake up every weekend and say I have to now prod for 6 hours when I could, I don't know, spend time with my family, with my girlfriend, with maybe I want to go out to like get lunch. Now, league time, baby. So that's can definitely be an issue, so to say. But enough about I would say the negatives. I really wanted to also ask the question that's been kind of popping up a lot lately, and that's really what do you guys want to see in terms of both personally and as a league and to change up the game. I know both of you are long tenured players, and so you have a lot of opinions on this. Maybe is what do you want to see to help improve both the casual side and the competitive side? We can start with the competitive side, and that should be a bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think before, like, pretty recently, I didn't really think too much on it, but yeah, like more recently, like as we said earlier, the game overall, the game and the league is really stagnating. Like it desperately needs more competition. So like as a league, I mean, obviously the main thing we'd love to see is for it to grow alongside the game.
Mhm.
That's a pretty simple answer, but it is just kind of the answer. Um, and so to do that, I think we just have to really focus in on specific areas, and that's like getting a good format that works for the player base as it is now, not
Mhm.
like what it could be or anything like that, but just like something that will work for the small group of teams that we have now, and that will also uh, that will kind of work with a bigger group of teams. So like it will we won't need to change it too much if the league begins growing. And then like
Mhm.
if the league does get really big or something like that, then we can look at changing up the format then. But right now I think we really just need to figure out like what will suit the player base the best. I definitely think more frequent matches, and like as Ekazo said, not worrying about streaming all of the matches and shit like that. Like obviously as a player, it's awesome to be streamed. If you get an awesome moment, you get a 4K or a clutch moment or something like that. Getting that caught on stream is a great feeling. But I think there is a bit too much emphasis on trying to get all this game streamed and stuff like that. So we're not going to give up on the stream or anything like that. Far from it. I mean, I just don't think we need to work on it. I mean, it's pretty good as it is. Like, I don't think there's really much more that we need to work on it for the kind of size of the community is. So definitely focusing more on figuring out a format. And then again, as I said earlier, figuring out how we can help the new player experience. Because yeah, actually, I did want to say something on the new player experience earlier.
Okay.
Like, I think a big thing. There's kind of, I feel like there's two stages that players leave the game, and that's either within their first few matches where they just don't understand what's going on, they're getting stomped by some 1,000 gamers or whatever, and they're just like, well, this game's shit, and then they refund it or something like that. And so I think a better tutorialization for the game is pretty desperately needed. Obviously, it's very difficult for GEC because, I mean, shit takes time and they need to prioritize what will work best. I think Pion said in the Ask the Team there recently that currently they're working on the performance refactor. And then once they're finished with that, they're going to move on to sorting out the new player experience. So that'll be pretty great. But then I think the next stage is kind of the recurring player experience, is when players will then leave. Because if you get past the new player stage and you actually start understanding the game a bit better, I think going into what you said earlier, Doughnut, about there are players that play casual for hundreds of matches, and they still don't really understand some of the real fundamentals. That's just because they haven't been on a team. They can be crap gamers. All right, it can be absolutely insane, but they've just never had to learn the kind of more fundamental things that if you play up against someone like Global Breakout, you need to know in order to get any chance at even winning a round, kind of thing. And you don't learn those fundamentals outside of joining a team and either figuring them out with the team as you fail and fail and fail against these veteran teams, or joining a veteran team where you'll just pick it up. I was lucky I joined Flogels, who at that point had figured it all out more or less, and so they taught me really well, and so I basically had a head start just by joining a decent team, a really good team. So I'm very grateful for that. So going into Havoc, I was then able to use the not extensive knowledge or anything like that, but the kind of head start that I had to then teach the other players that I picked up, and alongside Feed, he was also decently experienced at that point. And so we had at least a decent start where the first few weeks were really rough, where we were getting 7-2, 7-3, 7-1, shit like that. But after that, it didn't take that long for us to start properly competing. But yeah, I mean, it is just stuff like properly using utility. I swear, you never see utility used properly in casuals. At least I haven't. As well as just I do think utility is a big thing. Because I feel like utility is the backbone to any plan. Figuring out how the enemy is going to use their utility and then using your utility accordingly is kind of the most important thing to begin with. I don't know, that's kind of how I start thinking of all my plans. I don't know if that's the same for everyone else, but I think that's a huge thing that's missing in casuals, is people just don't give a shit. They'll take double molly, double barb, double frag, whatever. They'll just pick up something and play with it, without really planning how they're going to use it. And then they just die with double barb and they didn't place either of them, something like that. So in terms of the recurring player experience, while there is ranked overhaul would help with the recurring player experience, I think right now most of the recurring players head on over to DPL. There's a few casual players that enjoy hopping on the game, shooting some heads. Fair enough, it's pretty fun for the most part. But I do think the majority of the returning players are DPL players, and so I think that's actually where we can help the game. If we can make it easier for, as I said earlier, make it easier for players to get on teams, and then make the league format and structure just more fun and more frequent, make it more competitive, then I think that will help the game overall.
Okay. Yeah. So, there is that. You really have to find that balance between really helping out the new players, but I wanted to. You talked about utility being a big part, and there were some people in chat. I don't remember who exactly. I'm not looking at it. On what are people looking at for this game? Because I do realize that a decent amount of players really kind of just join this game to run, gun, and shoot people. So do you believe, both of you, that this game should be more based on utility, tactics, flanking the enemy, or kind of more that arcadey style that, to be honest, has been a big part of casual for a while?
I mean, the devs clearly don't think that it should be an arcadey shooter run and gun game, because I feel
Yeah.
like aim doesn't really mean all that much. It's kind of more down to your positioning and how you actually, like, yeah. I think a lot of like the way that you win rounds comes down to how you're positioning, yeah, like with your team, setting up
Mhm.
crossfires and shit, and like I think a lot less of it comes down to aim. Because, I mean, if you set yourself up in a position where you can peek around a corner and the enemies are running directly at you, you can fucking spray them down with any gun. Because, I mean, they're all decently accurate. But if you set yourself up in a position where the enemies are going to come around a corner and running horizontally to you, like perpendicularly to you, it's going to be much fucking harder to track them. Because, I mean, we've all heard all the fucking complaints of people saying, I can't see what the fuck I'm shooting at. There's so many effects and the iron sights are bad and all this and that. So like tracking people in this game is horrible. So yeah, I think definitely a lot of the kind of skill in just like shooting in general actually comes down more to positioning than it does to gun skill. Which if you come from a game, I don't know, that has faster time to kill and like no shit popping up in your face. I don't know, like Counter Strike or Valorant. I don't know about Siege. I haven't played that much. At least in the lower ranks, you can easily get away with just fucking tapping heads if you have good enough aim, like easily. I mean, when you get to the really high ranks, everyone has fucking cracked aim. So at that point, then you do need to start focusing on more positioning and shit like that, because there's no way you can just out aim everyone if they're better at positioning and shit like that, because they've all got the exact same aim as you or better. But yeah, I think into process, kind of actual like flicking and tracking and shit doesn't matter as much as positioning. I don't know what you think about that, Ekazo, but
I think the game's kind of balanced in both utility and gunplay wise. Like
yeah.
just yesterday, I was watching the previous tournaments VODs, and there are moments where that was caught on stream where a person would just empty a whole mag, looking straight at a person that wasn't even looking at them, and still did not kill them. And the user error for sure. And then there are some times where I'm watching Pleb. Pleb gets blind and he has them up. He's full blind and he's still able to ADS and kill someone. Basically full blind. Like if you look in hashtag DPL clips, I posted a
Yeah.
clip, and that is insane. Like even with utility usage, you can't. I feel like you can't really say utility is what makes the game, because like you have players like Pleb who can still, while impaired, still be able to get kills. So, and that suggests like gunplay is still a part of this. Um, you saw people are still missing their shots when they really shouldn't be. They have every advantage and they still can't make it work. And I feel like that just means like gunplay is just as prioritized as utility in this game. Whereas utility does help you for sure win rounds a lot more than other games. I would say R6, you get one shot headshot through a tiny hole in the wall or something like that. It's not as fun, but this game things make more sense. I would say it just needs to be highlighted more about this special intricacies like wall pen and stuff like that. People just don't understand that stuff, and uh, yeah. I also want to mention like as part of the DPL, the main goal I got onto the DPL is I like due process, and
Yeah.
one of the
I
things I
think I
want to
think that's
do
why we
is
all joined it.
one of the things
Yeah.
I want to try to do is like minimize the negative feelings for everyone, and whether that be like changing a rule. I know merchant really likes parkour, and while I agree that parkour should be all parkours maybe should be allowed, it might not be as competitive as we want DPL to be as a whole. And I don't know, we had to make this moral decision like, will enabling all parkour be as fun for everyone, or is making parkour a little bit more restricted be more competitive, and in turn make it more fun for everyone as well? And those are the kind of hard decisions I feel like we are constantly dealing with, and hopefully I can make it better, and we as a DPL staff can try and minimize the negative experiences that we can control. Obviously, the game itself, we can't do anything about that. We just need to make sure we make the stuff that we can controllable, or as best as possible, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's a bit weird to bring this up, but you just said parkour. So let's bite the bullet right here. What do y'all two think about parkour? Because I have a bit of a different see about this than y'all. So maybe. So what do you think about parkour? Good, bad? Should it be changed? Should it be removed?
I had made a parkour rule that I think it's pretty good, but
Yeah, it's pretty good.
there's still people like Jet and Merchant that are very skeptical about it. You can see the conversation in some type of chat in DPO. I forgot where it was, but
It was one of the feedback
uh,
channels. You have to scroll up pages,
yeah.
but yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think if we want to try and inspire change, I would probably say like I would rather have the shortest rule book ever for the DPO. I think that would be best. That way, I don't know, if the devs are watching, they're like, okay, this shouldn't be in the game. They'll fix it a lot faster or something like that.
You think the devs watch?
Oh, I saw Lasercat watching last night on the
Yeah,
VOD.
yeah.
So I don't know. So at least I know some of them are watching. Zgek as well. But
Yeah, it was actually just because he loves us.
yeah.
And
I personally think no parkour actually, or no parkour rules. Any parkour should be allowed.
mhm.
But I obviously want to think about everyone else as well when I'm making those type of decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Because I mean, it's pretty clear by the devs' intentions that getting up onto some of this shit, especially in bank, fucking not intended at all. But like, I mean, it's really tough because like it is a skill to find these bug spots. And like it's kind of a. I think if it was in any other fucking game, it would be fine. But because it's due process, where like literally on the homepage, like the store page, it's fucking says like no map knowledge. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, shit. Well, I mean, there's so much shit that you still learn between maps. Like, I mean, no map knowledge alone is a lot of bullshit. You can fucking grind out the game for a week and see all the maps in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think my major issue with like especially the bank parkour is, well, like I'm gonna say some of them. I was gonna say that it's you can't really see it very well on the planning phase map. Like it's pretty fucking hard to spot some of those spots just from like the map view. Like when you get in game, it's a bit easier. You can kind of figure it out. But then you've got like what 10 seconds in the setup phase to figure out where the parkour spots are. And if you're attacking the map first, you don't get that. You just have to go in and then get shot from a random angle. But there are some spots, as long as you know kind of the things that can be jumped on. Like there's that little trolley cart in accounting that you can jump up onto the window divider, and then you can jump up onto like some monitors sometimes. But seeing some of that from the planning phase map, and especially the one Merchant did, where he jumped onto the fucking vault door as it was opening, and then he jumped. Okay, how the fuck, like other than like just dicking around, is anyone gonna see that on the planning phase map? Like if somebody walks into manager, like maybe they flash it, the team runs in, Merchant's up there, gets a 3K. It's like, okay, cool, you found a spot, but like, is that really competitively fair? Is that really even fun? Like, I don't know. It kind of like a single round can fucking sway an entire game, and if you have rounds based off of like this kind of random shite, it does ruin some of the competitive integrity. So it's really difficult to figure out what should be done. It's why there isn't a parkour rule other than that one that says you can't get up onto the accounting like shoving things to see outside of the fucking map, because that's ridiculous. There's some layouts that you can literally see all the way out to like where the attackers are running out of the fucking truck pretty much, and kill them as they do that. So that's a bit ridiculous. But
yeah, and you could give that to Bank being a bit new, but I have a thought that after 3 to 4 months, the map designers should know like any messy parkour.
Yeah, and the old map should be rotated out by that point.
And the old map should be rotated out if there's anything, they should be fixed. But also the map designers should realize, you can do this. Let's not do that.
Yeah,
and so
that also does come down
shouldn't
to
happen.
Players reporting it.
Yeah, it really does. That is a big part of it too. Will the players ever report this?
No, I might be able to win money by using it.
Yeah, and so after I say around, 3 to 4 months, then the parkours for the maps should be completely like, all right, you can do whatever, especially on like Dome, or on Factory, or on Kill House. It's just like, do whatever. If you like, they've had plenty of time to fix this, or to fix any unintended issues, go crazy. But for Bank, for the first 2 to 3 months, it should be a bit more heavy-handed. But that's my thoughts on it. I believe in a rule book that changes a decent amount. But I haven't been a player, so I can't really yet. I can't really say on how easy it is to follow the rule book when it comes to stuff like parkour.
For now, like parkour hasn't been like a super priority for us, because I mean, like it can have some bullshit situations, but it does happen rarely. Like you have to get the few specific layouts that have these parkour spots, and then those parkour spots have to have like some crazy angles in order to really get like huge impact on a round. Like maybe you'll get a kill that like you otherwise wouldn't have gotten without the parkour spot or something like that. But like compared to figuring out an actual good league format, figuring out if we can do something to help more teams form, parkour isn't really that big of a priority right now, where we're spending our time. It has been something we've chatted about in the past, and that we've there's been a few discussions on it, but maybe we'll have a rule for it, maybe we won't, maybe we'll even remove the current rule. I don't know. It's really, as I said, it's not really a priority, so I can't really say what we're going to do about it yet.
I mean, all right there. So we have, we especially have those, like the idea about parkour. But before we kind of wrap it up, I really wanted to ask you this one, question that has been talked about in the chat, and that's the pace of the game. The pace of the game right now, at least from what I see it as, and from what I've seen it as for a long time, is very fast, very much blow, go, throw, as the old BTG motto, was. And do you believe that it is like that? Oh, people just be dumb and saying, the game's not fast at all, slow it down a bit. But enough about, is it like that? In actuality, do you believe it should continue to be like that? This is supposed to be a tactical game. Should attackers have like sun glaring flashbangs and should be able to tank mollies like nothing? What are your thoughts on really this, both in the casual and competitive sense?
In terms of the pace of rounds, I think it depends on the tile set. Like if I'm on C-Store and we're doing a storefront blow and the bomb's in the storefront, we can sit outside storefront, look for a few picks, take our time, wait for mollies, push in slowly, kind of look for angles, take picks. We can take our time. But if you're on bank and you have to run around the entire map twice just to get to the fucking bomb, mate, you're fucking sprinting the entire way. You're rushing through those vents, you're popping up the vents, you're throwing flashes, you're out, you're on the button, you're fucking going. Like, because if you don't, you just run out of time. There's been rounds like close to the start of bank, like when bank came out, where we try and play it. We're like, okay, you guys ready on the other vent? All right, cool. 3, 2, 1, and then like you just run out of time before you've even hit the button. So that definitely depends. Like I think the pacing depends on the tile set a lot, especially with bank. I feel like it's just especially if you go through the vents, it takes fucking forever. But no, in terms of like the fucking sprinting through mollies, that's dumb. Like, no. The flashbangs, yeah. I think a big thing with flashbangs is a lot of the time it is avoidable with good positioning. Like if you see a flashbang coming, if you're next to a door, you can just run through the door, close it, and the flashbang doesn't affect you at all. Hopefully, if the game works. There's definitely ways that you can position around flashbangs, but then there's other times where you're playing against a team that just knows how to throw those perfect flashbangs, and you just get fucked every round. But yeah, I don't think I'm experienced enough because I don't play the game enough currently to really know what the right solution to flashbangs and utility and shit like that would be. Ekazo, you're probably better at that.
I mean, I feel like I have some pretty controversial takes when it comes to utility.
Let's hear.
But
Yo,
like, I feel like people that complain about Molotovs not doing anything, they just don't know how to position themselves or throw the Molotovs.
the amount of times I've seen
Like,
Molotovs just like be yeeted out of a door, like right on top of where I'm sitting back from a red door, it's getting ready to blow, and then a Molotov lands at my feet, and I'm like, where the fuck did this go? Like, you're supposed to throw the Molotovs in front of the door inside the building, so if people run in, they still take damage. But yeah, that's definitely an issue is misplacement of Molotovs. But yeah,
Like, yeah, I mean, I saw a clip earlier where Toxic was complaining in fails and due process official. He was playing in Vault and he threw a Molotov from like 10 tiles away, and they complained when someone was able to run through the Molly when the Molly hadn't even dropped yet. Like, I I hate that because you're playing a tactical game and you have to take account of these things. Like, I think the best way to play mollies is you're playing perpendicular to the door. You're not facing directly to the door. You have a molly prepped. You're very close to the door. So when that door does get kicked open or you hear a flash pull, you throw that molly down quick, and that way it's easy to hold the door. But I feel like some people just don't know how to play or use the utility right, so they complain it and blame it on the game, which is something I don't like. It's like, okay, so this molly doesn't work as you expected, but like now you know this, so why don't you just try to make improvements as much as you can with how it works now? And I feel like the pacing itself, the pacing of the game, I mean, it really depends on the players because if defenders are playing super aggressive, spawn peeking everything, that changes the pace completely. Attackers have to choose to continue pushing that fast aggression or just staying back, slowing it down, seeing what the defenders do. And then on the opposite side is like if you're playing an attacker, you can change the pace too. You can just blow something, go straight in. Defenders have to start making decisions like, okay, do we need to fall back or do we need to push in as well before the flashes start coming in? It's like, I don't know. I like the pacing because it's random, or it's not random, but I would say it's decisive, and both teams have a say in how the pacing goes, especially if you know how to use the utility right. Flashes, mollies, those change the game, the pacing as well. And I don't know, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really, you know, you said it really well there. Just this pace is really dependent on a lot of the the map tiles that you Roach, and also just people. Sometimes sometimes it's just a skill issue. You know, I really liked, maybe for worse, just like the skill issue type, motto that's popped up. Because sometimes it really is. Dang, you just messed up, dude. Um, so that's it's really interesting to kind of hear you guys' thoughts on that, and so that's neat to hear. But I mean, I think that's all I have for you. If you have any like last minute, shout outs you want to say, anything you want to say in terms of DPL, the game, uh, like, what are your thoughts on all that?
Um,
Anything to
it- well,
chat about?
when I got on as a DPO staff, I had all these ideas like, okay, maybe I had all these ideas about like improving the stream and stuff like that, like DPO shorts and stuff like that. And now I'm looking back and like, okay, maybe I should step back a bit. Maybe I should help improve the game itself, like make tutorials, like make tutorials like Revenant did, because like I think that's a bigger problem right now. And maybe if I make tutorials, that would make the game better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I have to say, really.
Yeah,
yeah, I think so.
waiting
Especially
for the Ekazo tutorials.
Yeah.
yeah,
After I make the tournament video,
Ooh, when is that
I
coming
also
out?
I also want to make a tournament recap video for DPO, but
Yeah,
I am expecting it to come out, I don't know, Saturday or something.
nice.
nice.
Oh, waiting for that.
Yeah, especially I think if someone from Global Breakout as well made a tutorial, people are gonna listen for sure. It's like fucking the team that's stomping everyone is now telling us how to stomp everyone. Shit, sign me up.
I'll try my best. I can't make Revenant graphics, but at least I can try my best to try and show it.
Hell yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's all we have for today over here at the Due Process Podcast. This is the last show that we'll have for this sort of say season. We'll be back next year in 2022, hopefully with me, Zombie, Doodler, and Render. That absolute chaos of a little roster. But I think that's all we have. Thank you for showing up, you two, Ekazo, Roach, taking the time out of your day to do this.
Yeah, thanks for
Tetra,
inviting
thanks
me
for
on.
doing a little prodding in the gameplay in the background. But I think that's all we have for you today, and hope you guys have a great holidays that's coming up in 2 days. Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
And I will see you in 2022. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, Merry
Thanks
Christmas.
for having me. Merry. Uh-oh, I think Tetra died.